these likely massive protests tomorrow are coming at a time of pronounced weakness for him and his administration. And I think the mainstream media doesn't always talk about this. I think one of Trump's great geniuses, one of the things he's actually truly great at, is getting the media to cover things he wants them to cover. Even if he can't always get the kinds of coverage that he wants, he can almost always get the topics covered that he wants. And so because of that, I think some of the ways in which he is at a profound moment of weakness in his presidency have just kind of slipped by and not made the headlines. But I think if you're being real and you take a wide aperture look at what's going on with him right now, that's the pretty obvious bottom line. I mean, here's just one piece of that. So today's Friday. Usually every Thursday, we get the jobs numbers, right? We get the jobless claims data. That usually happens every Thursday. On the first Friday of every month, we're supposed to get the data on the number of new jobs created in unemployment. We're not getting that now, apparently because of the government shutdown. The first Friday after the shutdown started, they reportedly had that jobs report ready to go and they could have released it, but they didn't for some reason. That's not exactly a sign of strength. Private sector job indicators around the same time, payroll data and stuff, indicated that the jobs numbers right at the start of the shutdown might actually be horrific numbers. And so who knows, maybe that influenced Trump's decision about not allowing that data to be released, even though they had it right at the start of the shutdown. We'll never know, right? Before the shutdown, Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics when the jobs numbers started looking really bad. Well, now Trump has quietly withdrawn the nomination of the guy he picked to replace the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He's withdrawn that nomination and nobody new has been named for that job. Trump has also quietly just withdrawn his nomination for the person he wanted to put in charge of veterans benefits at the VA. That nomination has been pulled as well. Trump has also quietly just withdrawn his nominee for a senior oversight position at HUD. That nomination's been pulled as well. Trump has quietly just withdrawn his nomination for the person he wanted to be ambassador to Serbia. That's gone now, too. Trump has quietly just withdrawn his nomination to lead the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. That nominee then posted online about Trump donors telling him to, quote, rectify, meaning spike, a CFTC case against them, against the Trump donors. He says he refused to do that, and he says that's why his nomination was pulled. Trump's deputy White House chief of staff just quit and left. The chief of staff to Attorney General Pam Bondi just quit and left. They just removed the 25-year-old Fox News producer. They put in charge of the commission that's supposed to run the America's 250th birthday celebration. How come all these people are being pulled? How come all these nominations, controversial for one reason or another, are all just being yanked? Can't stand the bad press? Can no longer take it, political capital-wise, to have unpopular or problematic nominees pushed through the news cycle? You don't feel strong enough to bear that brunt anymore the way you used to? Today, this was a large protest on the lawn at the main campus quad at the University of Virginia. This is the protest there today with students and faculty and staff telling the UVA administration that they should refuse to sign this deal with the devil compact with the Trump administration to supposedly get special preferences in federal funding if you agree to Trump's ideological strictures on your academic freedom. This was the protest today at UVA, telling the UVA administration, don't you dare, do not sell us out, don't you sign that thing. This was today. And then this, tonight, was the statement, in fact, released by UVA's president, saying, okay, we're not doing it. We have told the Trump administration no. Remember when it was just Harvard standing up and all the other universities were too intimidated to say no? Well, now even the ones that caved before or that signed deals before with Trump, places like Brown University, even those schools have now learned that maybe signing deals with Trump is not a good idea. Trying to appease him, trying to stay on his good side is folly. It just shows weakness. It invites him to come back and bully you some more. And so in quick succession, we have seen MIT and Brown and Penn and USC and now UVA as well. They've all told the Trump White House, no, we're not doing it. We're not signing on to your little compact to restrict our academic freedom and our ideological freedom of movement in order to try to keep you happy. No, we are not doing it. We have learned our lesson. Forget it. The Pentagon press corps, all the real reporters at the Pentagon, even the ones from Fox News, this week all walked out in unison, telling Trump, no, we're not going to do it either. We're not going to agree to just write down what you tell us instead of doing actual journalism. No, we are not doing it. They walked out in unison, en masse. They told him no. In Chicago, we're seeing spontaneous protests in every city, neighborhood, and in every suburb against Trump's apparently untrained, totally out of their depth paramilitary dress-up immigration agents who, among other things, are now regularly tear-gassing Chicago police officers. A federal judge has now ordered Trump's federal agents from the bench, quote, you can't deploy tear gas. You can't use flashbang grenades. You can't drive a car through a crowd. You can't shoot them in the head with pepper balls. The judge has ordered that Trump's federal agents in Chicago must not only change their ridiculous tactics, they must now wear body cameras, and they must have them turned on. A different federal judge had ruled that the National Guard cannot be deployed to Illinois. That ruling has now been upheld by a unanimous 3-judge panel of a federal appeals court. In Washington, D.C., where Trump installed yet another Fox News host to be U.S. attorney in that city, they tried once, they tried twice, they tried 3 times to convince a grand jury to bring a felony criminal indictment against one D.C. resident who was part of a protest there. All 3 times, the grand jury refused to move ahead with those felony charges. Jeanine Pirro's office then instead finally charged this young woman with a misdemeanor for which they put her on trial. That was yesterday. The jury laughed them out of the courtroom and acquitted her yesterday afternoon after about a nanosecond of deliberation. As Trump continues to personally order up criminal indictments against people he doesn't like, James Comey, Tish James, now John Bolton. Tonight, 2 more veteran prosecutors have reportedly been fired after refusing to bring what they believe to be a baseless prosecution against New York Attorney General Tish James. Yesterday, in that district, in the Eastern District of Virginia, a judge who is Trump appointed took a moment, a dramatic moment from the bench at the conclusion of a big national security case, took a moment from the bench to praise James Comey's son-in-law, who recently resigned as a prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia when that office charged his father-in-law, James Comey. The judge praised the prosecutor from the bench, saying, quote, how saddened he was that I will, quote, not have the privilege of him appearing in my courtroom again. He said he was disheartened to know that the Department of Justice and our nation will be deprived of his obvious talents and integrity going forward. He said, quote, lawyers who stand up for the rule of law provide an essential contribution to the cause of freedom. The judge said, quote, what makes our country great is that we are a free country. And our great nation serves as a beacon for freedom around the world. But freedom and the rule of law necessarily go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. Again, a Trump-appointed judge making very pointed comments from the bench at the conclusion of a national security case in EDVA. That comes in the wake of another Trump-appointed federal judge issuing just a rip-snorting opinion, not only blocking Trump from sending troops to Portland, but really eviscerating him in very sharp language for even having the temerity to try it. New AP polling has Donald Trump 24 points underwater in his job approval rating.
The Emperor of Illusions. If the first Trump presidency was chaos, the second is theater. Power isn't exercised, it's performed. His empire isn't built on laws or policies, but on moments, viral videos, dramatic headlines, and emotional clips that keep the crowd watching. He's turned the government into a stage where every briefing is a scene, every speech a script, every crisis a storyline. He knows that facts can be challenged, but feelings can't. That's why he speaks in emotion, not evidence. He doesn't convince, he performs. And in an era where attention is currency, performance is power. The problem is that illusions demand constant upkeep. When the crowd begins to doubt, the show must escalate. 1 week, it's an AI video. The next, it's a military threat, then a trade war. Spectacle replaces substance until even the presidency becomes an episode-to-episode survival act. Behind the smoke and lights, governance decays. Institutions grow weaker, staff rotate faster, and experts are sidelined for loyalists who clap on cue. Truth becomes something negotiated between belief and entertainment. You can't argue with followers who no longer care what's true, only what feels dramatic. Trump didn't invent this dynamic. He perfected it. He understood earlier than anyone that modern politics isn't about facts, it's about feeds. As long as his name trends, he wins. And the more outrageous the illusion, the stronger the connection with his base. They don't see manipulation. They see mythology. They see a man who fights back against invisible enemies on their behalf. But illusions have one fatal flaw. They collapse when reality bites back. Tariffs hurt businesses. Military threats scare investors. AI videos amuse the base, but embarrass the nation. Slowly, the line between show and shame blurs. The emperor may keep changing costumes, but the empire beneath him is wearing thin. In the end, history won't remember the spectacle's shine, but the silence it left behind. The hollow institutions, the eroded trust, the country that mistook applause for achievement. Trump may see himself as the star of the story, but someday the lights will go out, and the world will remember that even emperors can be naked.